Now, before starting this video, please do consider checking out our Patreon. This is where you can support us and we give you extra features for you to look at. So please do check it out. And we have a goal of 100 Patreons. And when we reach that goal, we will be doing monthly giveaways. And I believe the K3 will be one of them. Hey guys, what's going on? So today we have the Fiio K3 here. Now this is a replacement for the Fiio E10K, and this kind of brings back the memory when I first started audio. I had the Fiio E10K as my first DAC and amp combo. And I remember that I was very happy with the combination of the HT598 from Sennheiser along with the Fiio E10K. But things have changed quite a bit since then, and now I have a lot more headphones and a lot of more gear to play around with. Now with this being said, this is a $100 item. So this is a very budget item, so I don't have high expectations for it. And one thing that really mattered to me back then was that it was able to drive my headphones. And that really mattered to me the most rather than the sound quality or the features, etc, etc. So of course we'll go over the features in this video, but for the most part I have few headphones on my desk right now, more than my desk can probably handle. And most of the headphones I have here are major headphones in the different price ranges that you may perhaps have already or are thinking of purchasing. So I'll be telling you if the Fiio K3 can drive these headphones or not. So let's go over the build quality first. So the Fiio K3 has a metal housing and a plastic front plate, and the volume knobs are also metal. It has a nice click to it, and it's pretty solid unit for the price asking. Now taking a look at the back, there's a line out, so you can technically use these for your powered monitors. It has a USB input 1.0 or 2.0. I used 2.0 for the most part of this review, and it has a coax out and an optical out. Now, since this is a small unit, they couldn't pack a whole lot of inputs and outputs, so it's understandable at this price range that they have these kind of limited inputs and outputs. Now, looking at the front, what's really nice about this unit is that it has a 2.5 millimeter balanced input and a standard 3.5 millimeter headphone input. It also has a bass boost, which we'll get into in a bit, but you are able to boost that bass a little bit to your liking. Now, it does have gain, low and high gain. And for the most part of this review, I used high gain and stayed that way. So let's go over the brief sound quality of the K3, and we'll jump right into the headphones. Now, the Fiio K3, in my opinion, is really good for the price in terms of sound quality. However, it really depends a lot on the headphone that you're purchasing rather than the K3 itself. The K3 has its limitations, and it's basically a threshold. You hit that threshold and you can't go up anymore. Because the Fiio K3 is already on the warmer side of the spectrum, I did not prefer the bass boost for most of the headphones I used in this review. So typically I would advise that you spend a little bit more in getting a bigger unit, such as the NFB28 from Audio GD, for example. However, sometimes that's not the case. We have a budget, we spend most of our budget on the headphones as we should, and we are left with the tiny amount of budget that we're really pushing at that point. So the K3 is a really good place to start, and you can always upgrade later. So let's get down to the headphones and the pairings. So we have to start out with the classic, one of my first headphones, the Sennheiser 598s. So this is a great headphone to start you out. It doesn't have that bass, so a bass boost does help on the K3. So this is a very good unit. Now it drives these no problem. Now the balanced headphone output on the K3 does boost the volume to about 50%. And so you can benefit from using a balanced connection with your Sennheiser 598s. But it was not really that necessary, as it was fine with the 3.5 millimeter connection. So I think the K3 is a very good match with the 598 and a great place to start. There's no really need for you to look anywhere else. Now we move on to some of the higher Sennheiser headphones, and we have the HD650 or the 6XX or the HD600, and we have also the classic HD580 here. Now all of these, they were driven fine. the K3 could do it. However, there's two meanings to driving a headphone. It's really, the volume or the capacity to actually drive it. So you're probably like, what the hell is he talking about? So let me explain. I like to explain it with cars. So let's say you have a Toyota or a Ferrari. Obviously, the Toyota can also go 100 miles per hour, and so can the Ferrari. But the Ferrari will do a much better job of ramping that speed up because it has torque. It's the same thing with headphone amplifiers. Yes, the K3 can drive the HD600, 650, and 580 to a good volume level. However, it's not the same kind of quality you're gonna get. It's not the same kind of drive you're gonna get with a higher end amplifier. But if your concern right now is to get volume out of your headphones, then this is certainly a good unit to look at. And I do have to mention that with all three headphones, I did prefer it with the bass boost off because it's already a warm headphone with a warm unit, and the bass boost kind of muddied things up for me. Now the next headphone we're gonna look at is a headphone that perhaps is another starter for many people, the AKG 712 Pros. Now I do have the 701 and 702s in my collection. I just did not have enough space on my desk. So the K3, I'm happy to tell you, can drive all three headphones perfectly fine. It does need a little bit more than the HD600, 650, and 580 for some reason, but it did have that drive. In fact, I would say that the K3 was able to drive these a little bit better. Now, the K12 Pro is probably one of the headphones that will benefit from the 2.5mm output from the K3. However, I was not able to test that because the cable is something that you might have to really think about when you get these for these headphones, because it's a mini XLR, single mini XLR to a 2.5, and that's fairly hard to find. So with this being said, the cable may be a problem when you buy the K3 for the K12 Pros, if you prefer to go with the balanced 2.5. So next we have the Focal Elir. So this headphone, a lot of people like it. I know quite a few people that actually own this headphone. It's a nice sounding dynamic headphone, and the K3 does a perfect job of driving these. I would say that the Elir sounded best out of all the headphones I've mentioned so far. Again, I did not prefer it with the bass boost on. I preferred it with the bass boost off. And it did significantly benefit from the 2.5mm output instead of 3.5. And the Focal cables are relatively easy to get in 2.5mm termination, so it shouldn't be a problem. Now we are moving away from the dynamic headphones to more planar magnetic headphones. So here we have the new Headphone Sundara headphones, and these are fantastic headphones. I did a review on these, and these are a fantastic headphone. And I'm pleased to say the Fiio K3 does drive these perfectly fine to a satisfying volume. Although I found it slightly bright on the top end with the K3, the bass boost I preferred it off. And in my opinion, the Sundara and the K3 was not a really good pairing because it was a little bit sibilant to my ears. And Sundara does not sound like that in the top end if you have the correct amplifier. Now we move on to the Edition XX or the Edition X version 3. These are quite nice headphones for the price especially. Now these headphones are a little bit weird with the K3 because the K3 does drive these just perfectly fine. However, the sound quality just collapses. The soundstage and the bass and the mid-range just simply collapses and everything seems a little bit lean and bright. Now we take a look at the more affordable planar magnetic headphone, and it's the Headphone HG4XX. Now this is a fantastic headphone, one of the HG variants that I really enjoy. And this headphone sounded quite good with the Fiio K3, but again a little bit bright on the top end. So I think Headphone headphones and the Fiio K3 does have that matching of making everything a little bit brighter. So if you enjoy treble, then it won't be a problem, but again, it was a little bit bright for me. And my preference with this headphone was with the bass boost on because it added that warmth and just sounded better to me for some reason. Now we're almost done. We're running out of breath here. So now we're moving on to a little bit more expensive headphones. So we have the Headphone Aria. So if you have this headphone, really, I encourage you to get a better headphone amplifier. But if the budget is like just not able to, then the K3 will do the job, but only in 2.5mm balanced output. And I can't stress this enough. The 3.5mm jacked up to max volume will not do it. Even at the 2.5mm output does not do the justice for these headphones. However, if you must and you don't have the budget yet, then it can technically drive the headphones to a satisfying volume level. And again, I preferred it with the bass boost off. Now moving on to the next headphone is, well, the newer headphones to my collection is the LCD2, and I can say with confidence that the LCD2 sounds quite nice with the K3. Unlike the HiFiMan headphones, it does not get bright on the top end. Everything seems very nice. And perhaps because the LCD2 headphones are very good at layering, it doesn't collapse as much as the HiFiMan headphones or even the other dynamic headphones. However, there is a collapse in the Soundstage, and there is not much microdynamics that the LCD2s are very known for. And again, I preferred it with the bass boost off, and it did benefit from the 2.5mm balanced output. So I would highly encourage that you use the 2.5mm balanced output, although you can get enough volume with the 3.5 alone. Now moving on to the LCD2 Classic, which is a more affordable Odyssey headphone. Again, it drove just perfectly fine with the K3. I did find it to be a little bit lean sounding, just like the HiFiMan, and a little bit bright on the top end with the K3. So the LCD2 Classic is already a little bit bright for some people on the top end, so it was not really a good match with the K3, making it a little bit more bright than I like it. And certainly I liked it with the bass boost off, even though the bass boost kind of boosted the bass. It was not very natural to me with the LCD2 Classic. And last but not the least, we have the Odyssey LCD-X headphones, which I found to be a quite good match with the K3, surprisingly. The vocals came in very clearly and very nicely. The top end was not bright at all. The dynamics suffered a little bit, and then the Soundstage suffered a little bit as well. But overall, it was a satisfying experience with the K3, and I preferred it with the bass boost off, because the bass boost on kind of bloated the bass a little bit and kind of faded the mid-range. Now probably the most affordable of the bunch I have here is the Super Luxe headphones I have here, the HD681. Now this is 32 ohms, and this headphone is driven by the K3 perfectly fine. In fact, I would say it sounds quite nice. Large Soundstage, the K3, and this is a pretty good match. So if your budget is really limited and you need a headphone and an amp to be under $200, then this is a perfect match for you. The headphone's about $60 USD, and the Fiio K3 is about $100. And again, on some tracks I preferred it with the bass boost on, and on some tracks I didn't, so it's really up to you for this one. Now if you're wondering if it can do in-ear monitors, if it's quiet enough, I do have my custom in-ear monitor here and my daily driver. The Fiio K3 on low gain is very quiet with the in-ear monitors I have here. And a few other in-ear monitors I've tested in the studio all tested quite well with very low noise floor, and I could barely hear any kind of noise floor. However, if your expectation is a pure pitch black background, that's not the K3. The K3 does have a slight noise floor higher than, more expensive units. But with that being said, my in-ear monitor is quite sensitive and uses balanced armature drivers, and it did not pick up a lot of noise floor from the K3, and it sounded pretty good, and sometimes I preferred it with the bass boost on and sometimes I didn't. So I think that for your in-ear monitors, the K3 does an excellent job. So there you have it. This is probably the longest video I've ever made, but this hopefully helps you out determine if you should get the K3 or not with your headphones. If I did not mention the headphone you have and you're wondering if the K3 can power them, I'll do the best to answer your questions, so comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time.